I am the oldest of 6 kids. Now, naturally, I know what's best for my younger siblings, except when I don't. The problem is, I don't like to admit when I'm wrong. I critique my brother's use of their time. I regulate their eating of treats. I even tell them how they should use their own stuff. One of my brothers received a skateboard for his birthday, and of course, I had to show him how he should ride it, though I've never even ridden a skateboard. These situations usually end in anger, with my parents having to intervene. Pride, harmful to ourselves and others. C.S. Lewis writes in his book, Mere Christianity, "The essential vice, the utmost evil, is pride. Pride leads to every other vice." We must fight pride, but first we need to recognize it. Pride loves to reveal itself to us when we're presumptuous, overconfident, self-righteous, and think that we are better than others. In the Old Testament story of Naaman, the Syrian general who was afflicted with leprosy, Naaman exhibits pride by assuming that he knows what's best. 2 Kings 5, 1 through 14. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a mighty man and was in high favor with his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. Now the Syrians on one of their raids had carried off a little girl from the land of Egypt, and she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "Would that my lord was with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." So Naaman went in and told his lord, "Thus and so spoke the girl from the land of Israel." And the king of Syria said to him, "Go now, and I will write a letter to the king of Israel." So Naaman went and took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I've brought to you Naaman, my servant, that you may cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Only consider and see how he's seeking a quarrel with me." When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he said to him, "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come now to me, that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman took his horses and his chariots, and he arrived at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha said to him, "Go now and wash in the Jordan 7 times. Your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman went away in a rage, saying, "Behold, I thought he surely would come out to me and call upon the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hands over the place and cure the leper. Are not Abana, Tharpar, all the rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" So he turned and went away. But his servants came near to him and said, "My father, it is a great word the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? Has he not said, 'Wash and be clean'?" So Naaman went and dipped himself into the Jordan 7 times, according to the word of the man of God. And his flesh was restored, like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Naaman's pride almost prevented him from being healed. In the book Les Miserables, Javert, a self-righteous inspector, was not so fortunate. He spent his lifetime hunting down the ex-convict and parole breaker Jean Valjean. When Javert catches Valjean, we see a window into his self-righteousness. Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. The certain knowledge that now at last I held Jean Valjean brought my whole soul into my eyes as the stirred depths came to the surface. I was in heaven with a sense of importance and achievement. I was the personification of justice, light, and truth, and their sublime task of stamping out evil. Behind me, around me, and extending into infinite space were authority and reason. I was the guardian of order, the lightning of justice, the vengeance of society. and I was bathed in glory. Upright, arrogant, and resplendent, I was setting my foot in righteous indignation upon crime, vice and rebellion, damnation and hell, and was smiling with satisfaction as I did. Without knowing it, Javert, in his awful happiness, was deserving of pity, like every ignorant man who triumphs. For nothing could have been more poignant or more heart-rending than that countenance on which was inscribed all of the evil and what is good. Javert is similar to the Pharisees of the New Testament. Pride loves to boast in one's superiority over others, but Jesus says that we're all sinners, needing God's mercy. Luke 18, 9 through 14. He also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and treated others with contempt. 2 men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee, the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, prayed thus: God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like that tax collector. For I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing far off, could not even lift his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified, rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself shall be humbled, but everyone who humbles himself shall be exalted. Pride makes us think that we're better than others, including God, and that makes us self-reliant. C.S. Lewis writes about how God teaches us humility, so we can be free from the misery pride gives us. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Pride gets no pleasure out of having something, only out of having more of it than the next man. For we say that people are proud of being rich or good-looking, but they are not. They are proud of being richer or better-looking than others. If I am a proud man, as long as there's one man in the world more powerful or richer than I, he'd be my rival and my enemy. Pride always leads to enmity. It is enmity. It is pride which has been the chief cause of misery in every nation and every family since the world began. Pride eats up the very thought of happiness, contentment, or even common sense. But in God, you come up against something which is in every respect immeasurably superior to yourself. For unless you know God as that, and therefore know you yourself to be nothing in comparison, you do not know God at all. A proud man is always looking down on things and people, and of course, as long as you're looking down, you cannot see something that is above you. The point is, God wants you to know him. He wants to give you himself. He and you are 2 things of such a kind that if you get into any kind of touch with him, you will in fact be humble, delightedly humble, feeling that infinite relief of having gotten rid of all the false silly nonsense about your own dignity, which has made you restless and unhappy all of your life. I wish that I'd gotten a bit further with humility myself. If I had, I could probably tell you more about the comfort, the relief, the getting rid of this false self with all of its, look at me, aren't I a good boy, and all its posing and posturing. To get near humility, even for a moment, is like a drink of cold water to a man in a desert. Like Lewis, I'd like to get a bit further with humility myself, especially when interacting with my family. We need to recognize pride's crafty ways and fight pride by drawing near to God through Jesus.